Super Rugby Round Four, the Saturday games. There were some interesting results. One that went down to the wire, one that was an absolute hiding, one pretty massive upset, solid away win. Lots to like about this weekend of Super Rugby. Only a couple of teams remain winless, and only one team remains unbeaten. Good times. The first game was the Rebels hosting the Sharks. They took this game to Ballarat, so outside of the main centre in Melbourne, so I guess more like country Victoria. I've been there once as a child, but I don't remember how big Ballarat is. Either way, it was a pretty small ground, but it had a decent crowd. They had kids stuff in the background to play with, which seemed pretty good. Like if you're going to take the family out to a game, seemed like a nice day, although a bit breezy from all accounts. But yeah, I thought there was enough people on display to make it seemingly worthwhile. So yeah, 36 points to 24. The Sharks get the job done. They did go into this one as favourites, and sure enough, they got it done. I mean, Mapimpi got 2 tries. He could have had a third, but he unselfishly gave the ball to Kuan Bosch for 1. Esterhazen was ever present. He got 1 as well. Tumbue showed some proper gas. For the Rebels, Korobidi, he does look sharp, even though he's in a losing team so far this year. Naisarani, who also looked pretty good, and Rangi got 1 right before the end. I mean, Fussy is still there for the Sharks, man. That guy is causing all kinds of problems for people. I think people are talking him up for good reason. Deegan got the nod on the 10 jersey for the Rebels this week with Hodge out and Tamua out, and I thought he looked alright. I thought he looked pretty good. So he did not look out of place in a Super Rugby side, so that was good news. The Sharks did this despite having a yellow card during this game. That was to Van Furen. He got yellow carded, and then there was another yellow card to, was it Tumbue? Yes, for being offside. So at one point it was 15 against 13. And yet, during that time, I think the Rebels only managed to score 7 points. So they'll be slightly disappointed with the way they managed the yellow card. The Sharks, on the other hand, will be pretty chuffed with managing to get that done. To be fair, one of Mapimpi's tries, the one on 64 minutes, I thought, that looks short, but I have to trust in that the ref had a better position. The ref said he saw it grounded. So I'll take his word for it. But all the camera angles looked like, nah, he's short. So sometimes the camera angles do funny things. That was one that I thought, man, that was a bit funny. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a pretty good game. Final stats were 309 to 445. That's run meters. So the Sharks kind of tearing things up there. Rebels edged the position and territory 53 and 52% respectively. Neither side was kind of tackling with any kind of particular intent, and I guess that's indicated by the fact that the game had, 60 points scored. 82% for the Rebels, 76% for the Sharks. Penalties conceded was 8 apiece, so pretty even. It is a joy to see Nohamba playing 9. His pass is absolutely crisp, and he also seems like he's got a big future ahead of him. Esterhazen at one point held up the Rebels halfback Lawrence, like literally held him in the air. So yeah, that's a size difference thing, isn't it? Bosch got sent flying at one point with a big bump off. Thomas Dutoy had a big run with nobody in front of him for many meters, which he'd be not used to, but yeah, Nasrani was pretty good. Overall, man, I thought it was a pretty good game. Mapimpi, 115 run meters, 5 defenders beaten. Nasrani, like I mentioned, he made 41 run meters, had I think a defender or 2 beaten. So, good win for the Sharks. That's a pretty good tour thus far. They've still got 1 game to go. They go to Brisbane to face the Reds, who are kind of resurgent after this result, so that'll be an interesting game. The Rebels go away to play the Highlanders, so their season's looking pretty long at this point. The next game, the Chiefs against the Brumbies. Oh my. The Brumbies got it done. 26 points to 14 over the Chiefs in Hamilton. Now, I should say, that before this game, all the talk was about, oh, it's been this long since an Aussie team's won in New Zealand, and the last team to do it was over the Blues, and the Blues are rubbish. And, the Chiefs haven't lost to the Brumbies since this year, and it was just all, they're not going to win, don't have a chance. Then this happened. The Chiefs have been guilty of chasing games. They were behind against the Blues, and they were behind against the Crusaders. They managed to turn it around. Sure enough, did they go behind in this one. There was lots of Brumbies running early, and I guess the main thing about this game was you thought all the Brumbies have got is their maul. That's it. If the Chiefs can shut down, they're going to cut them to bits. But man, it was the Brumbies doing all the running early. They got the first try. Banks, that one with the TMO had to have a look because Slipper had kind of juggled it, but it was them to go backwards, so 7-0. Jacobson went off for the Chiefs, which was pretty disappointing. I think it was his leg, thankfully not his head. But he was only back on 10 minutes after a long recovery from injury. Qatar got a try on the right wing to make it 12-0 because they missed the conversion to hit the post. They did turn down 3 at one point, the Brumbies, to go for a maul, but the Chiefs held them out. And then right before halftime, the Brumbies got another try from Samu on the back of a big scrum. So it was 19-0 at halftime. 19-0. I know the Chiefs are good at their comebacks, but 19-0 is not an easy one. The Brumbies were dominating possession and territory, 72% territory, 66% possession. They had 250 run meters to the Chiefs' 81. They were tackling at 93%, so they were all over the Chiefs. And the Chiefs had 8 knock-ons to the Brumbies 4 in that first half, despite the Chiefs having not much ball. I guess thankfully for the Brumbies, they came out and scored the second half, so it was 26-0 after 42 minutes. But that was it for the scoring. That was it. The Chiefs, man, in the second half are a different team. They just took a couple of minutes longer in this game. They scored a couple of tries, one from Cruden, and then they got one from ALB, Anton Leonard-Brown. And that was during a yellow card to James Slipper, so they'd gone a bunch of phases, but one phase after the scrum. But yeah, it was not enough. The Chiefs just weren't as sharp. Sure enough, they managed to hold the Brumbies out for the majority of that second half, but they weren't able to come back well enough. The knock-ons and whatnot, poor decisions. It was just not very Chiefs-like. Game finished, run meters 271 to 380, so the Brumbies still had the better of that. If it's interesting, if you look at the position and territory, position is 51-49, and territory is 57-43, and that's 57 to the Chiefs. So first half, Chiefs had 34% possession, and then the second half they really turned it around to get 72, and then likewise territory, they went from 34% in the first half to 72 in the second. So yeah, it was definitely a game of two halves, but the Brumbies took their chances. Chiefs didn't. The Brumbies tackled at 90%, which is kind of like test match level. The Chiefs were 83, which is all right at Super Rugby, but man, the Brumbies were just really up for this one. Written off, had the mumps and the lead up to it, and they go in and do a job. Chiefs scrum though, second half was good. The Brumbies were just getting some key turnovers. Yeah, man. Decent crowd, not great. Brumbies had an orange jersey on, which was a bit different. I haven't seen that before, but yeah, good for the game, this one, because the Chiefs at that point were looking pretty much like the absolute favourite, but they've shown they are also mortal. Both these teams go on the bye, so that'll be a welcome break for these guys, and still things to work on. Man, the Brumbies, if they'd not thrown that game away last week, would have a perfect record, but not to be. They've all lost games, but still, it's a massive result for them, and I guess, apart from the Rebels, it was a decent day for Aussie rugby, because the next game, the Reds against the Sunwolves, 64 points to 5, is an absolute walloping. And it was 36-0 at halftime. They were just running in tries for fun. At halftime, I should go over the try scorers. Paisami, McDermott got 2, Salakai Lotto got 1, O'Connor got 1, Stewart got 1, Nasser got 1, Lucas got 1. Oh, and I forgot Wright and Tupou got the first two for the Reds. Fafita got one for the Sunwolves. At halftime, the Reds had missed one tackle. One. It was 98%. That was Tate McDermott who'd missed it, but he got 2 tries, so we'll forgive him, maybe. The Sunwolves were at 68%, which is really bad, and it's reflected in the scoreboard. They just couldn't get things right. The Reds were just dominant in pretty much all areas. They had 70% territory. The Sunwolves were just playing out of their own half, falling off tackles. It was just about as one-sided a result as it gets. Second half didn't get a lot better. The Sunwolves did manage to score a try, and there was like a little bit of a period between like the 47th minute try to the 64th minute Sunwolves try. So they held the Reds out for about 20 minutes. Otherwise, we would have been looking at 70, 80 points. Bad game for the Sunwolves, but like the Reds in their first couple of games went close and couldn't get it done. And then they had a kind of a bad week in their last one. Second half, they had a bad half last week. Maybe they're not that bad. Maybe the Sunwolves are just bad. But maybe the Reds are better than we kind of gave them credit for. I thought they would win, but not by that much. Nobody picked it by that much. Paisami had 8 defenders beaten. With Pataya out, he's going to have to step up, and so far so good. Stolberg for the Sunwolves had 16 out of 19 tackles, and those are among the better tackle stats in a performance, which tackling-wise was pretty bad. They finished with 73%, so they did up it a bit in the second half, but still, the Reds dropped down to 90%, but yeah. Turnovers conceded. Remember, the Sunwolves only had 38% possession. They had 22 turnovers conceded compared to the Reds' 17. And the Reds had all the ball, so bizarre. Reds 806 run meters to 370 for the Sunwolves. It was just one-sided, people. It's an absolute hiding. So, good stuff for the Reds. A bit of a feel-good one for them. They are home to the Sharks next, and like I said, they'll be a bit resurgent after this. Finally, something went right for them. Maybe mentally that's a good thing for them to kick off, whereas the Sunwolves, it gets worse before it gets better because they travel to play the Hurricanes, who will be nice and well rested after a bye. The next one I haven't seen. I've only seen the highlights of these two. I watched the highlights on Rugby Pass. If anyone else had trouble getting on there, do let me know, because it was a bit of a mission to get on. They have more extended highlights than the YouTube highlights, at least from what I've seen. More like 10, 12 minutes instead of like 4 or 5. So, but yeah, if there's other places to watch highlights as well, do let me know. I try to watch the games live as much as I can, but couldn't in this case. So the Jaguares and the Stormers, it was 17 points to 7. Seems like a bit of an ugly game. There seemed to have been some rain. The crowd seemed okay, but a lot of them seemed to be hiding from the rain, basically based on where I could see them sitting. It was a very smoky start. They'd been letting off the fireworks at Newlands, and it takes a while to clear, but sure enough, Stormers' scrum looked good early. They got a penalty to make it 3-0. Malherbe got yellow carded on 15 minutes, but the Jaguares couldn't score any points during the yellow card period. So I'm not sure if that was them not converting their chances or if it was the Stormers' staunch defense, but either way, there were virtually no highlights in the package that I watched during that period. So halftime 3-0 is pretty low scoring. Second half though, Herschel Yankees sets the world alight again. He's very good at doing that. He has got some proper gas. The Jaguares threw one loose pass and he is on it like a flash, and he is just gone. I know their thing is Thor with the Marvel jerseys, but he should be someone faster because he is amazing. 10-0 to the Stormers. Nell gets a try on 53 minutes. Willems did well to pick up the ball from his ankles before he put him through, and it was 17-0. At that point, 17-0 looked pretty convincing. 65 minutes of the Jaguares did have a big scrum, and Bruni went over for a try to make it 17-7. And they had a second try disallowed on like 67 minutes, so a few minutes later, because in the lead up to the try, there'd been a high ball taken, and then one of the guys, after it had been kind of bobbled, had got it from an offside position, so the whole try was cancelled off. Otherwise, it was a great move. So, pretty unfortunate one for the Jaguares, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. They still did attack right to the death, but couldn't manage to get within 7 for a losing bonus point. So the Stormers remain the one undefeated team in Super Rugby thus far. Run meters 351 to 307 in the Stormers' favour. The Stormers edged the position and territory 55% and 56% respectively. The Jaguares actually did better with the tackling, 87%. Pretty low scoring game overall. The Stormers had 81. Jaguares had to make more tackles. Penalties conceded 9 to 8, so pretty even with all that talk about refereeing stuff going on in South Africa. That one was pretty even. Herschel Yankees, 73 run meters, 3 clean breaks, 3 defenders beaten. It's a great running number 9. Cancellieri had 65 run meters, 4 clean breaks, 4 defenders beaten. So he is also a young up-and-coming guy who's doing the business. But yeah, disappointing result for the Jaguares. And there's another win for the Stormers. Stormers are home to the Blues. And the Jaguares are away to the Bulls. Speaking of the Blues and the Bulls, these guys played each other at Loftus. I managed to see like the last 10 minutes live. I was getting up to watch the games. I didn't get up at 4. I got up towards the end of this game. I saw the end, saw the Blues nick it at the death with a penalty of all things. But 23 points to 21, the Blues get the win, so that's their second win of the season. And the two teams they've beaten are the two teams who haven't got a win yet, and the Waratahs and the Bulls. It looks to have been a pretty ugly game from what limited amount I've seen. I have gone back and watched the highlights. But this game had 4 yellow cards, and the penalties was 12 to 15. Remember the previous game was like 9 to 8? 12 to 15. Bulls 12, Blues 15. It's an ugly, ugly thing. The Blues missed a kick early. It's at Loftus, so you should be able to get some more meters off with the kicks. Not even close. Bulls got the first penalty 3-0. Second penalty 6-0. Blues got the next one to make it 6-3. The Bulls did have a yellow card to Ferreira. And then Odendal had a yellow card for a high tackle, which is a harsh one because Narawa seemed to be really low to the ground. But because he was kind of bent over, or at least half kind of squatted down to get the ball. But it's just the way the rules get interpreted these days. So, yeah, but the Blues only managed to score 5 points during the yellow card period. So Talea did well to get the try. You know, he forced it in the corner. Timo had a check, and it was just the try. So 5 points to the Blues. They went in front, 8 points to 6. But then the Blues got their own yellow card through Ruru. Speckman had a try chalked off. Stain got a try not long after, second attempt kind of from the back of a powerful scrum. So 14 points to 8. The Bulls scored 5 during the yellow card as well because they missed the conversion. So you'd like to get 7, but 5 you'll take it. Second half, Blues had a try chalked off for a forward pass. Robinson did get one, and they missed the conversion to make it 15-14. Duffy got a great setup, probably the try of the game, I think. Cross kick to Matt Duffy. He used to play league, so he's used to taking the high balls in that kind of area. He takes the high ball and he gives it to Perifetta, who goes over and scores to make it 20 points to 14. Looks like Parsons broke his arm in this game. They didn't really show it, but my dad talked about it when I spoke to him this morning. And so Tutu got yellow carded for a dangerous tackle. So the Blues are going to be a bit short in the number 2 jersey, but we'll see how it goes. 71 minutes, the Blues get dominated at scrum time. Rudolph goes over for the Bulls, try to put them in front. 21 points to 20. It's another try during a yellow card. So the Blues conceded both those tries during the yellow card periods. But then right on 79 minutes, the Bulls give away an offside penalty. Sure enough, the Blues managed to kick it to nick it right at the death, 23 points to 21. The goal kicking, the Blues ended up at 50%. So I'm surprised they kicked the penalty at the end to win it, to be honest. I should be happy, but I'm kind of cautious about it. The Bulls were at 80%, so the Blues goal kicking on a better opponent, no offense to the Bulls, and the Blues are not much better by this. They're pretty even. A better opponent would have been well ahead. So the goal kicks are important, but the Blues aren't really getting them, even if they got the key one at the end. The Blues had more possession in territory, though, 57% possession, 55% territory. Tackling, both teams okay. Blues in the 80s and the Bulls in the 90s, but they still managed to concede 3 tries. Hendricks looked good. I think he got man of the match. He had 5 defenders beaten, 64 run meters. Satutu was the best of the Blues guys, despite spending 10 minutes in the bin, 45 run meters. But yeah, 4 yellow cards. Not ideal. If nothing else, the Blues away jersey looks to be the best of the New Zealand team's away jerseys this year. All the rest are kind of pretty ugly. Like I mentioned, the teams are swapping. So the Blues go to Cape Town next, and the Jaguares come to Loftus. So yeah, should be interesting games next week. Definitely will be tougher for both of these teams to play both of these teams, who seem to be at the moment anyway at a higher level. But you would have said that about those 2 teams earlier. So you never know. I should mention the crowd for the Reds game looked really bad on TV, but it was still like 12 or 13,000 or something. So for Super Rugby, not actually too bad. But when you play it in such a huge stadium, looks pretty bad on camera. Anyway, wow, 21 minutes. I better get going. Interesting games. Big upset with the Brumbies. Sharks are looking good. Reds, good, feel-good win for them. And the Stormers keep on trucking. The Blues just scrape it in a not convincing performance, but a win is a win. So we'll take it as a Blues fan. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on the games, especially the ones that I haven't seen full versions of. But yeah, do let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you guys.